Greetings, everybody. Welcome to TV Skywriter. I'm Patricia A. Murray, your host. The show emanates from Durham, North Carolina, where I live now. TV Skywriter is where I talk to people all over the world about their books, their jobs, their businesses, everything interesting here in the world. And if you'd like to be a guest, just get in contact with me, durhamskywriter@gmail.com. Now, today's guest, very interesting. She wrote a book. Her name is Barbara Hemphill. She lives in Raleigh. And she, with Louise Wanier, wrote a book called Less Clutter, More Life. Welcome to the show, Barbara Hemphill. Oh, no, she disappeared on me. Oh, she's coming back. Okay. Technical glitch, folks. This is live, and it's exciting, so let's just wait and see what happens. There she is. I just introduced you, Barbara. Can you hear and see me? Uh-oh, technical problems. Barbara, are you there?
It just went away and I had to come back on again. Can you see me now?
I can see you and hear you. Okay. I just gave you a glowing introduction.
Okay, good.
I told people your book, Less Clutter, More Life. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Patricia.
Absolutely. Now, a lot of times when people do their life's work, very often it has like a little bit of a beginning in childhood. And I did read your story about your childhood. So give us an idea how you even got interested in clutter and productivity.
Well, it did happen in my childhood, but I didn't realize it then. It actually started in my first entree into this organizing productivity area started in 1978 when I was living in New York City. I had moved there from India, where I had adopted 3 orphan children, one of whom was mentally disabled, and my husband worked for a nonprofit organization, and we needed some extra money to pay for living in New York City. Mm-hmm. But I needed to have lots of flexibility for taking care of these children. And I decided that the best way to be able to control my time would be to work for myself. And the best way to work for myself would be to listen to the problems that people were complaining about that I could solve. Mm-hmm. And as I sat on the playground with my children, I would hear people say, like, I haven't eaten off at the table in a month because it's piled full of papers, or I had to file an extension on my income taxes because I couldn't find all the receipts.
Wow.
Or I'm fighting with my children about the clutter in their room, or my spouse about the clutter on the kitchen counter. And I believed, based on my experience, that I had some solutions to that. So I took $7 out of the grocery money and put an ad for $7 in a New York City newspaper that said, organizing consultant can help you make better use of time and space. And that's how the business started.
What kind of a response did you get for that $7?
Oh, well, like a lot of entrepreneurs that get off to a rough start, I got 3 crank calls. But the 4th call was from a woman, 58 years old, who was a widow, and her husband was an attorney. And like the shoemaker's kids with no shoes, it was the attorney who didn't have his own affairs in order. Wow. And his desk, both at home and at the office, was absolutely a mess, just piled high full of papers. Mm-hmm. And so I went in and started digging through the papers. And she didn't know that she was my first client, and I didn't tell her.
Wow. So what is the relationship between clutter and productivity and just living comfortably?
Well, I define clutter. If you pick up something, anything, like whether it's a piece of paper or a utensil in your kitchen or an item of clothing in your closet, and you ask the question, does this help me accomplish my work or enjoy my life? And the answer is no. Mm-hmm. It doesn't help me accomplish my work. I don't do anything with it with my work. And it doesn't particularly give me any kind of pleasure. Then by definition, it is clutter.
I'll bet people would argue about that. Is it hard to get people to, I mean, it's not that easy just to throw things out, right?
Well, I'm not encouraging anybody to throw anything out. My passion, my company's called Productive Environment Institute. And I define a productive environment as an intentional setting in which everyone can accomplish their work and enjoy their lives. Now, your environment's everywhere. So your environment is your kitchen, your closet, your email, your computer desktop, your purse, your car, your kitchen drawers. It's everywhere. It's even your brain. You know, if your brain is full of thoughts like, well, I'm too old to do that, or that'll never work, or I shouldn't have done that, I'm not smart enough to do that, I don't have enough money to do that, that's not a productive environment. And you're not going to be able to accomplish your work and enjoy your life with those, you know, with those kinds of. So, and you said, is it hard to convince people? And what I want to make it very clear is I'm not in the business of trying to convince anybody to do anything. I am looking for people who are tired of living in paper clutter, physical clutter, digital clutter, or emotional clutter, and say, I'm tired of this. I want to accomplish my work and enjoy my life, and I want to get rid of this clutter. Those are the people I'm looking for.
I gotcha. So what do? Do you actually sit down with the person and make lists, or do you, I mean, how do you even start organizing? How do you even approach it?
Well, we have a system that we call a process actually called the Productive Environment Process. And it's a 5-step process. And the first step in that process is state your vision. So when people contact us to help them get organized or be more productive, they had something in mind. I mean, there was something that wasn't working the way they wanted it to work. And so the question that we would ask is, all right, if we're successful doing whatever it is that you want, what's it going to look like? What's it going to feel like? What are you going to be able to do that you can't do now? How are we going to measure success? Now, the interesting thing, Patricia, is one of the things I've learned is that, well, for 20 years, I've focused with people on paper and physical clutter. And then with the dawn of the internet, I got drugged literally into digital clutter, you know, email and digital documents. But in recent years, what I've realized is what truly prevents people from accomplishing their work and enjoying their lives is emotional and spiritual. And it is actually that emotional and spiritual clutter that creates the physical and the digital clutter. And part of the reason people have that is.
Oh no, she disappeared. Oh no, Barbara. Oh, it was getting so good. I hope she can rejoin us. Let me click on this and see if I can get her back. Oh shoot. This is frustrating. Okay, we're just going to sit here quietly for a moment. In fact, let me show you the book again. And I hope she can rejoin us real soon. Basically, here's how the book goes. Her friend, Louise Wanier, took beautiful pictures and created beautiful art, and there are little tips in there for you. So it's not like it's a super detailed how to, you know, you don't have to do this by the numbers or colors or whatnot. So for example, in fact, here's one of my favorites. Okay, no, here's another one. Wait, there's so many good ones. Okay. So she says, when you encounter paper, just paper, and maybe like me, you come in, you throw everything on the living room table, and you get a huge pile of paper. So she says, look at each piece of paper, choose one of these 3. The first one is file. So you file it with the file index. Okay. So I guess if it's that important that you have to keep it, put it somewhere where you can, you know, find it. Okay. Second one is act. What, who, when. And I guess that would be do something with it. So if you like in my case, a lot of times I'm out somewhere and I will just scroll someone's name and number. You know, I'm talking to them. They'll say, this is my website, whatever. And then I will find that scrap of paper. I will enter it in my phone or my little database in my computer. Then I get rid of the paper. The third one is toss. So obviously, if you don't really need it at all, get rid of it. Don't let it sit around. And it looks like Barbara has rejoined us. Are you there, Barbara?
I am. Don't you just love it? I could see you absolutely perfectly the whole time you were saying, she's not there, she's not there. And I could just see you clear as a bell. So the joys of technology.
I guess, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a scientist. I'm just a person. When we have glitches, I don't understand. I just try to deal with them. So, so you can go back to what you were saying. I was just biding time by, sharing with them some cool tips from your book.
Well, basically, one of the things I wanted to point out was that what I found when I say to somebody, okay, what is your vision?
Mm-hmm.
Or I ask, they're often aren't really sure. And so I take them back to an experience that I had 35 years ago, mm-hmm. when my first marriage at the end of 14 years came to an end. Mm. And I was devastated. No one in my family had ever been divorced. And I thought life was great. I remember flying over St. Louis in an airplane and looking out the window and thinking, oh, this is going to be the best year I've ever had. And 30 days later, my life was in a shambles. And I was sitting in a counselor's office, and she said to me, okay, Barbara, you have a blank slate. What do you want? And I said, I don't have a clue. I was Mrs. Tom, and that's really all I ever wanted to be. And she made a statement that was life-changing for me, and which I've used with many of my clients. Mm-hmm. And that statement was, let's start with what you don't want. Well, what you don't want.
What you don't
want? Start with what you don't want. Because what you don't want is clutter. So often people aren't getting rid of the clutter because they keep seeing, they don't want to make the decision. And my whole business for 37 years has been based on 4 words. Clutter is postponed decisions. I learned that from clothes closets. Clothes closets fill up because you haven't decided whether you're going to lose the 10 pounds you need to lose to get back into that favorite suit again. Or the exercise equipment that looked great on Home Shopping Network, but it hasn't been out of the closet in, well, more days than you care to admit. Or there's the candlesticks you got from Aunt Sally. You love Aunt Sally. She's absolutely a dear. But those candlesticks are not your style. But if she came for Thanksgiving dinner, she would be so happy if they were on the table.
Right.
Well, the same thing's true with the pile of papers. Let's say there's the pile of papers on the desk or the kitchen counter, and you say, okay, today's the day I'm going to clean up these papers. And you pick up the first one, and you think of any number of reasons why today is not a good day to deal with this piece of paper. And you pick up the second and the third and the fourth, and before you know it, the pile that was on the left side of the desk is on the right side of the desk, and you look at your watch, and it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to go to a meeting. Clutter is postponed decisions. Same thing's true with email. You open email, open, close, open, close, open, close, and the next thing you know, 45 minutes have gone by, and nothing's really changed except that your spirit is depressed because you realize how far behind you are.
Oh boy.
So clutter is postponed decisions. So when we go in to work with someone and we say, state your vision, and they're not really sure what the vision is, well, then we start with, well, what is it that you don't want? And we have them literally, we go into companies, and we do in companies what we call productive environment parties. If you take any group of 100 employees and you say, we work in groups of 25. So if you take 25 employees and say, if you had the time, are there things in your office you could comfortably get rid of? 24 would say yes. But nobody goes to work and says, oh, I don't have better to do today. I'm going to clean out my files. I'm going to clean out my drawers. I'm going to clean out the storage room. I'm going to clean out my email. And if you did, your colleagues would look at you and say, what's wrong with you? We have work to do. We've got projects to do. What are you doing?
I know. I mean, who does that?
Nobody. But Here's the deal. Research shows that 80% of what we keep, we never use.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff then.
So let me give you an example. We worked with a nonprofit organization with 24 employees. In 6 hours, 24 employees ended up shredding 3.5 tons of paper from their office.
Oh my God. That is amazing. Wow.
If you look at that, 80% of what you keep, you never use. And one of the, we were doing it in a library recently, and somebody wrote up on the whiteboard, "Thank you for giving us permission to get rid of this," because employees don't feel like they're paid to do that. That doesn't feel like it's part of their job. But a recent study showed that the average person spends, oh, I got to get the quote. I'm terrible about numbers, so I want to get the actual number so I don't do it wrong.
Yeah. But you know, another thing about employees is that they're probably afraid to throw things away because they haven't been given permission to.
Oh, you've got it exactly right. That is absolutely the case. They don't want to throw it away because they're afraid, you know, somebody is going to be unhappy with them because they've thrown away. So this study says that the equivalent of, if you hire 5 people to work in a company, actually only 4 of them are truly working because the other one is looking for information they need. The average employee spends 1.8 hours every day looking for information.
Okay. But that's...
So it's a bit, there's a lot of discussion now about clutter. I mean, there are 2 books on the best-selling list now about clutter, but it all talks about personal clutter. And what I believe is that the clutter is costing our country billions of dollars every year because individuals are struggling with clutter, and those same individuals work in companies, and so then the companies have the clutter. But in order for it to work, and you, Patricia, hit the nail right on the head, they're afraid to throw it away. So when we do these events, when we do productive environment parties, everybody has to participate. Management and employees participate, and we turn it into a fun day. So we start the day with bagels and coffee, because when everybody's eating, they're happy, right? And while we're doing that, we do a seminar called "Sometimes It Takes an Expert to Take Out the Trash." And then we set up, and in that seminar, we teach them the principles that are in the book, Less Clutter, More Life. Less Clutter, More Life is made up of 20 timeless principles that have evolved in the 37 years I've been in this business, starting with clutter's postponed decisions and ending with together we are better, which is what we're showing in this. Management can't do this without employees, and employees can't do it without management. Wow. So everybody participates, and then we set up shredding stations and recycling stations and what we call trash to treasure stations. So if there's something in your office that you don't need, but you think somebody else might like, it can go on the trash to treasure. But the deal is it has to go home. It can't just be shuffled around the office. You know, you're talking about the coffee mugs and the notebooks and the calendars and the flower vases and all those things that come.
Oh, she disappeared again. Oh boy. What? I do not know why that happens. I'm going to try to talk a bit to try to... Yeah, she's totally disappeared on me. Sorry about that, folks. Technology, what can you do? So let me just take from her book again and hope that she rejoins us real soon. I hope that she talks about this here on page 49. I don't know if you've ever watched that show, Hoarders. That's a real scary show. At least it scares me to see people who've amassed so many items that they can't even get into their homes sometimes. So the principle that she explores on page 49 is, how does this item or thought make me feel? And it says, letting go inspires hope. We often have emotional and spiritual attachments to our belongings. And I think that's pretty true, because I've known people who were afraid to throw things away because maybe this item used to belong to, I don't know, their child grew up, or their mom, or someone who's deceased or whatever. But then you might realize that, like, for example, okay, My mom's folks, it seems they never threw anything away. So if I had wanted to, I could have gone through my mom's report cards. Now, mind you, my mom was born in 1929, so we're talking about report cards that have been here for decades. Now, if I were cleaning up these cards, I would have probably not wanted to throw them away because, after all, it's my mom. But on the other hand, do I have to save all of her report cards from first grade to eighth grade? Probably not. So if I were going through my mom's report cards, she is deceased. So again, we're talking about emotions and all that sort of thing. So maybe I wouldn't keep all of my mom's report cards from first grade to eighth, but maybe I would save maybe first grade, fifth grade, eighth grade, and maybe, get rid of the rest, because we're talking about a stack of cards. So maybe that's some of the principles that you can think about when you're reading Barbara Hemphill's book, Less Clutter, More Life. And it looks like Barbara's back again. Barbara, are you there?
Boy, we're having all kinds of challenges. But, I loved hearing you talk about report cards, because that brings up one of the really important issues that are one of the important principles that's in Less Clutter, More Life. And that is what we call the cost factor. And that is, you can keep everything you want if you're willing to pay the price. And the price, money, and energy.
Okay.
So our job is not to say, well, I would say to you, Patricia, you don't need to keep your mother's report cards. The only because it's your emotion. But what I would say is, if you do keep it, then this is how much time, space, money, and energy it's going to take to do it. And what often get is, let's take a goodies card, networking group. So I know they're networking, everybody does. And a lot of times offices and their drawers are just full of business cards that they've collected from all of these events.
Oh, sure.
So the questions is, okay, well, you can keep them all, but the question is, do they help you accomplish your work or enjoy your life? And it's because you don't have a system for organizing them. And that's one of the things that we work with clients on, is developing a system so that the things they really want, they have a system so they can find it. People talk about filing systems.
Okay.
We don't call them filing systems. We call them finding systems.
Oh, I like that.
A filing system works lots of places. You find it again. And so what we do is we work with clients on how they're going to be able to find a file. And there's a secret to that.
Okay. Now, I actually have hundreds and hundreds of business cards. And it just so happens that I have an old wooden 9-drawer card file from a library that I brought with me to North Carolina. And I actually, my newspaper has different categories like health, sports, nonprofits, that sort of thing. So I labeled the drawers according to the different pages in my newspaper. And so the business cards that I've collected through the years, I actually file them according to whether it's health, the law, school, whatever. That really helps me a lot.
Well, one of the principles in Less Clutter, More Life is half of any job is using the right tool. And that's exactly what you're describing. You're describing a tool that works for you. Now, here's the thing, is a tool that works for one person may be perfect for one person, and may be a disaster for the second person. So one of the things we talk about in Less is, how do you whether a tool is a right tool for you? And there are actually 4 questions that you can ask. And the first question would be, does it work? It sounds like yours? The second question, and the reason this was important, it comes from, I worked one time with the CFO of a movie production company. And when he met me, he wasn't a client of mine. I was just working on another project there. And when I walked into his office, he said, oh, I know what you do. And he said, I'd like to have a clean desk, but every time I have a clean desk, I can't find it.
Oh, that's weird.
So in his case, although his system worked, because his system, man, it was spread out all over his desk and he didn't want it. Well, I mean, it was, when I looked at it, it didn't look disorganized. It looked like it was organized by project. So when I looked at it, I saw these different piles, and so I could well imagine that, you know, these were a pile for a project. So I didn't look at it and, oh, this looks this way. That's the key. So it's on. And this is where it'd be interesting for the system you're talking about. You're probably the only one that uses these cards.
Right.
So if you're the only one who uses them, then that system is perfect. But let's say you have other people that get access to them as well. And so then the question would be, does it work? If they were virtual, if they didn't actually get in there, it would work. So you'd have to come up with another solution. And there are wonderful solutions now. That company in, and I'm not giving them a plug because they're paying me any money. It's just a wonderful company. And you can literally send your business cards to them. We did 5 networking groups in you know, one right after the other, and you just didn't have time to file them all, and so your desk got kind of messy because it just had all the piles. But your system works for you, so it's a big problem. It's not a problem. The problem is with the clutter that becomes the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if there's a way that you can, I guess, maybe rearrange clutter so that it's more usable, that's good. I guess you don't have to throw everything away, but yeah, I guess if you can manage your clutter, I think getting rid of clutter is probably better. But I guess you know, if you can't get rid of stuff, I guess if you manage it better, that's more useful, right? Uh-oh, did she disappear again? Oh no. I think her computer, it must be frozen. I think she has a bad or slow internet connection.
Well, this is not a moral issue. It doesn't, I mean, if you look at everything, that doesn't make, the question is, excuse me.
Uh-oh. I heard you for a second.
I shouldn't have. You're coming up.
I wonder if you just have a really super slow internet connection or something, or maybe you're too far from your router.
I can hear you so clearly, but you can't hear me.
No, I can't hear you too well. Well, let's try again. Because I can see you now, I think. Let's see. Nope, I can't. Darn. I don't know if this is going to work out. We have to think of a way to work on this. Again, I don't know if you're too far from your router, if your router's on another floor, or if your internet connection is slow. But I keep losing you. Let me click on you again. Okay, I can see you. Image is frozen. Darn, this is really frustrating because she's got so many good things to say. But if Barbara doesn't come back, let me just close this out. We can try again another time. Oh, are you there? No, okay. Anyway, we might have to just discuss the internet thing. Maybe, I don't know. I can't tell you what happened. But in any case, there she is. Okay, are you there? She's only there for a second. Darn. Well, let me just tell you about her book again. If she jumps in, that's great. But Barbara Hemphill, she has a book here.
I'm here so in time, but I don't know. I beg your pardon?
Oh, okay. She's jumping in and out. Okay, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so, okay, there you are. Okay. So I don't know where you were when you disappeared on me.
I guess this interview, I'm sitting right in the same place that I have no idea. So I guess it isn't meant to be, but I thank you for trying anyway. I'm sorry the technology just isn't serving us very well tonight. So
it isn't serving us well tonight, but I am glad you came on the show, and we are going to try again. It could be just a matter of your getting closer to your router, because my router is like about 8 feet away, so I hope that people can see me clearly. But anyway, Barbara Hemphill was my guest. We talked about her book, Less Clutter, More Life, and I do hope that you check it out. It's a wonderful, wonderful book, full of principles and tips that you can. It's not just about getting rid of clutter like paper, but it's also about getting your life together as well. Really, really nice book. Again, Less Clutter, More Life, A Life's Teachings. Also, Barbara Hemphill, her business is called the Productive Environment Institute out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Check out her website, productiveenvironment.com. Again, that's productiveenvironment.com. And that was Barbara Hemphill. Okay, folks, sorry about the technical glitches. I'm Patricia A. Murray. And if you'd like to be a guest on TV Skywriter, just write to me at durhamskywriter@gmail.com. If you're local to North Carolina, just check out the Durham Skywriter. That's Durham's online community newspaper. Basically, you can read that at durhamskywriter.com. It's an all-positive website. It has news about health, the law, education, nonprofits, huge calendar of events, really fun read. So I hope you check that out. And I'll be making an announcement probably tomorrow or the next day. I'll be starting up my Indiegogo campaign, trying to get a newer, better video camera, because I'm going to take the Durham Skywriter to the next level. Not only is it going to be a community newspaper online, but it's also going to be a video showcase. We'll talk about that later. So with that, I bid you good evening. Sorry about the technical glitches. It happens sometimes, but I'll see you next time. Ciao.